Hey, hi guys. Wow, would you look at that? Look at that beautiful wide screen. Yes. You know, it was actually my daughter that taught me. She says, hey Dad, just take the phone and turn it horizontal while you're filming. Then you can get rid of those thick black margins in your videos. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm so sorry for being such an amateur. Thanks for hanging with me. I'm going to try and continue to make improvements, same great content, but hopefully make them more visually appealing. All right, let's get down to brass tacks. Fair fighting rule number 5. No tones of voice, right? All right, this rule is actually going to prove probably to be more difficult than first imagined. It sounds like it's going to be easy to do, but it's going to take a conscious effort on your part to get it done. And I think that might probably be the case because, using tones of voice is kind of sort of second nature to us. During a fight, using a tone of voice used to be a sort of common thing that my wife would do. And this is usually how it would come about. She'd try and quote something that I'd said, but instead of just simply using the words, she would add in some exaggerated tone of voice, right? So at that point in time, I knew exactly what it was that I had said to set her off. And I contend that if she had simply quoted me using some generic tone of voice, well, then we could have addressed pretty readily what it was that I had said. Instead, my attention was drawn away from the words themselves and towards the exaggerated tone of voice, which I had translated into being meanness and unnecessary. So, here we were trying to work something out, and she'd inject a tone of voice into the discussion. So, on top of the feelings that I was feeling just from the fact that we were in a fight, now I had the added emotion of dealing with what I perceived to be a mean tone of voice. It's at that moment, just when the tone of voice is being used is where, if you feel comfortable saying something, I'd like to suggest a comment you might make at that time. Try saying something to the effect that, perhaps I'm wrong, but I feel like you just used a tone of voice when you spoke. And, I just don't want that to be a distraction in resolving our issue, or something to that effect. What I'd like to recommend is that you not, at least not outright, accuse the speaker of using a tone of voice. Instead, and this is a technique that I've not only read about it, but it has also been recommended to my wife and I by our marriage counselors. And that is this: let your partner know how you perceived it. Let them know how that tone of voice made you feel. It's actually a brilliant technique, and it's worked very well for both of us. So, after you've expressed your feelings to your partner, there may be any number of reactions, right? We'll take a look at a few of them. First, there may be denial on the part of your partner. They might say something like, I never used a tone of voice. And in turn, you might counter by saying something like, okay, well, I'm glad to hear that you didn't use a tone of voice. That actually makes me feel better. Thank you for sharing that. A second reaction might be your partner saying, well, I just said it the way you said it to me. In that situation, I'd recommend that you take that as an opportunity to apologize and say that you were wrong for having used such a tone of voice on them. And another example might be, maybe rare, but it might be your partner actually admits to using a tone of voice and maybe even apologizes for it. Well, likewise, I think that in that situation, you should take that as an opportunity to recognize and thank them for their honesty. Those are all examples of how to de-escalate a situation where tones of voice are coming into play. But, you know, when emotions are high, it's really, really hard to do that. That's why I think that it's the stronger-willed person that contributes the most to de-escalation efforts. You know, it's relatively easy to fly off the handle into a rage, right? But it takes somebody with a lot of inner strength to skillfully apply the brakes in a heated situation. You know, in the midst of a fight, it's sometimes hard to remember that you love and care for each other, but it's at just those sorts of moments that, you know, a little show of kindness towards your partner goes a long, long way. During domestic disputes, if you can keep your voice smooth and steady, you will greatly improve your effectiveness in resolving disagreements. And I want you to remember that as effective as each of these rules are on their own, to be a most effective communicator, you and your partner both need to incorporate all of these rules at the same time. And I'd like to refer back to the fair fighting summary in which I said something to the effect that, you know, all of these rules, they're just acting to cast off what's extraneous to productive communication. That wraps things up for this go-round. You know, if you would like to see more of these types of communication videos, please go ahead and click on that subscribe button in the lower right corner of the screen. And as ever, thank you for watching.